Thank you, thank you. I know you cannot get enough of me because not only I'm the greatest Armenian singer in the world, but I'm also the sexiest singer in the world too. I'm the sexiest man in the world too. Anyways, I got some great news for you and some great news and great atmosphere. We're going to be talking about a lot of great things today. Everybody tune into my live podcast right now with Sarkis Serge Melengitchian III, greatest Armenian singer in the world and hockey player, and the sexiest man alive today. Put your hands in the air and let's have some fun today. Yay! Call at the phone number at 905-357-8444. 905-357-8444. If you want to go live on my special podcast, feel free to call the number. And by the way, today's greatest topic we got today, the special topic for today we got for my live podcast, as you all know, it will be wrestling. How wrestling was before and how wrestling is today. Either or, I used to be a huge wrestling fan back in the old days. Back in the 1980s, the 1990s, I've been a huge wrestling fan. But today's wrestling kind of sucks if you ask me. I'm not into the modern wrestling, but I want to compare the two. Anyways, feel free to leave your phone number and start calling at 905-357-8444 if you have any comments you want to add about. Anyways, as you all know, there's big allegations going on with Vince McMahon and the whole media. Everybody's talking about Vince McMahon with the sexual allegations and human trafficking and this and that. And also plenty of news. One day I'll get into that. Anyways, before we start talking about this topic, I would like to sing you guys a couple of songs just to speed some things up right now. Let's start with one of my great songs that I started singing, Kryptonite, the cover from 3 Doors Down.
I took a walk around the world to ease my troubled mind. I left my body laying somewhere in the sands of time. I watched the world flow to the dark side of the moon. I feel there's nothing I can do. Yeah. I watched the world flow to the dark side of the moon. After all, I knew it had something to do with you. I really don't mind what happens now and then, as long as you'll be my friend at the end. If I go crazy, then will you still call me Superman? If I'm wild, then will you be there holding my hand? Keep you by my side, my superhuman, my kryptonite. You call me weak, but still your secrets I will keep. You took for granted all the times I never let you down. You stumbled in and bumped your head. If not for me, then you'd be dead. I picked you up and put you back on solid ground. If I go crazy, I'm alive and well, will you be there holding my hand? Keep you by my side, my superhuman, my kryptonite. If I go crazy, then will you still call me Superman? If I'm alive and well, will you be there holding my hand? Keep you by my side, my superhuman, my kryptonite. Yeah! If I go crazy, then will you still call me Superman? If I'm alive and well, will you be there holding my hand? Keep you by my side, my superhuman, my kryptonite.
Kryptonite, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And here's one more song before we get into the topic.
Աշնան գիշերել, անձրև էր գալիս, մոտեցա ես կեզ մրցում էիր սիրելիս, թրջվում էիր, անձրևի դար, պատվեցիր ինձ սիրելիս, փողոցում ենք մենալ ես ու դու նայում եք արցունքներին։ Արցուն է բաղ, գիշերս ուներ ես, սիրեցին իրար խենքի պես, անգյուրները մեր շտերին այրեցին մեզ, Գրադի վեսիրով ինձ և կեզ, անգյուրներով մորացան կեզ, անձրևի գագան խոստան դեր, հաշոր օրը ինձ այնում ես, իմով էր քո սիրը ես, արցուն է բաղ, գիշերը թունել ես, սիրեցին իրար խենքի պես, ինչ են երազում, ու անուշտ եմ կաչելը մայքոն, հարբած քո սիրով, անուշ շուրթերին, համուրների դագիվ երկով, փողոցում մենք մենալ ես ու դու նայում եք արցունքներին։ Արցուն է բաղ, գիշերը թունել ես, սիրեցին իրար խենքի պես, անկյուրները մեր շտերին այրեցին մեզ, գրադի վեսիրով ինձ և կեզ, անկյուրներով մորացան մեզ, անձրևի գագան խոստան դեր, հաշոր օրը ինձ այնում ես, իմով էր քո սիրը ես, արցուն է բաղ, գիշերը թունել ես, սիրեցին իրար խենքի պես, que tú me vienes, si decidido a la gente.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Oh, looks like we're getting some phone calls now. Oh, we have one phone call for our topic today for wrestling. Hello, hello, and welcome live in the air with Sarkis Serge Melengitchian III. How are you, sir?
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing great. What's going on? Anyways, today our topic for today is about wrestling. Are you a huge wrestling fan? Is that why you
Oh,
called?
yeah, I'm a big wrestling fan, but the problem is something changed, something went wrong. Like before was a lot better than now. What's going on now in the wrestling world? It's not like exciting like before.
Yes, 100%. I agree. And what years did you start? Well, I'll tell you. What years did you start to notice the difference in the changes?
Like 5-10 years,
Yes.
something like that.
I'll tell you what the reason is. It's the reason why because, okay, the WWE and so many wrestling organizations, like it used to be great. I know what you're talking about. Back in the 80s, the 90s, where there was gore, there was violence, there was always swearing. And the thing is, during television right deals, they never had problems like that. But today, I think after 2007 or 2008, when Chris Benoit died, you know the allegations where he killed his wife and his son, and then he committed suicide. After that, the WWE and the whole wrestling world decided to change wrestling into PG. So what happened also with the television rights, like people who are on cable television and this and that, what they do is they're telling them if they want to be live on the air, they have to reduce swearing, they have to reduce violence, they cannot have blood, they have to make it a child and friendly family entertainment show. That's what's going on with the wrestling today. Do you know what I mean? Do you see where I'm getting at?
Yeah, but it's not exciting anymore.
Of course it's not exciting. Well, thanks to our stupid liberals right here and people and all these activist groups who they don't want wrestling to be, like it used to be. They're trying to ban violence and all that stuff, if you know what I mean. So what we have to do is, like we all got to stop watching and we all got to start protesting, because I agree with you, because back then it used to be in the 90s where the Monday Night Wars happened. It was WWF versus WCW during the Monday Night Wars, the Attitude Era, a lot of people call it. It used to be Stone Cold Steve Austin and Vince McMahon. Stone Cold Steve Austin flipping the middle finger every time and always swearing and all that. And they're all, during wrestling shows, they always say about ass kicking and kicking somebody's ass, this and that, right? Because it wasn't scripted. It was all uncensored, and people got to say things however they wanted to, if you know what I mean. Now, they give them a script. The wrestlers, they're not acting naturally in the ring. Before, when they used to talk in the ring, they used to say things when things came out of mind, out of proportion. Now they're telling them what to say, and they're really being careful with the words and the swearing and all that stuff, And the thing is, too, the wrestlers today, all you see is they do hurricanranas and monkey flips back and forth, ring to ring, and stuff like that. And the thing is, before, like, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to Jim Cornette Official. I listen to 83 Weeks from Eric Bischoff. I also listen to Russo's brand, Vince Russo. You know, I have to say, I agree with a lot of these guys. I even listen to Ted DiBiase, an old school wrestler who grew up in the territory days. And also, he was in the WWF in the 80s. Even he says in the ring, they're not telling a story. They're not doing slow pace, you know. Wrestlers today, they're all getting injured very fast. And a lot of them today, they don't know how to talk on the microphone and they don't know how to say things, you know, to make things more interesting, you know. A lot of them, let's say a 25-year-old, he gets up, he grabs the mic, I'm gonna kick your butt, or whatever, stuff like that, and he sounds like a 16-year-old kid who's still a virgin, or is too busy jerking off in his parents' basement or something. The wrestlers don't sound like real life characters anymore. Like back then, people complain, especially the stupid marks today. They worship guys like Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks, where they can't wrestle for shit, right? But back then, they complained about, Hulk Hogan, Roddy Piper, Macho Man, Stone Cold Steve Austin, all these guys, they always put other wrestlers down. They never let any young talent to go up. It's because back then, in the 90s, if they went on TV, whether it was Hulk Hogan or Macho Man, all they needed to do was talk for 2 or 3 minutes. A lot of people were tuning in to watch wrestling just to listen to them talk. They didn't even have to wrestle. They didn't even have to hurt themselves in the ring, if you know what I mean. That's what's going on. And the problem today with wrestling, you know, like all they do is they run up and down the ropes. They do too many monkey flips. You see a 300-pound guy, a 7-foot-tall guy, they're all jumping over ropes, jumping on each other, stupid 6-man tag team matches or 8-man tag matches. None of it make any sense anymore. And they are lacking a lot of story too on top of that. Besides doing things unscripted and uncensored, they have no storylines. None of it makes sense. Do you know what I mean? They get into stories really quick. They do a segment and all of a sudden they ruin a segment. And also with the internet, they do a lot of spoilers too. Instead of keeping things mysterious and mystique, for example, when CM Punk got hired to WWE and he got fired at AEW, I understand the fact he gets fired at AEW, but here's the thing. People on the internet and all these stupid marks, they got to quit writing things, or they got to quit giving out some secret information where CM Punk is going to get hired to WWE or something like that. And next thing you know, before CM Punk even went and performed at the Royal Rumble or whatever pay-per-view event there was, the whole world knew about it because all these people on the internet, they're all talking about it and they're all writing to each other. Already everybody knows. So there is no more mysteriousness, no more mystique into the wrestling, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and anything to make this one, like this is what forever?
The way it's going, if it keeps going, already wrestling is dead as it is. But if this shit keeps on going, we're probably never going to have wrestling if this is going to keep going this way. Because already, it used to be, back in the 90s, it used to be more than 10 million people watching in North America. Today you have less than 1 million people watching. And hardly anybody watches it anymore because nobody's interested anymore.
Yeah, but somebody has to do something.
Well, here's what they have to do. Well, wrestling used to be a big-time moneymaker. Guys like Vince McMahon, Vince McMahon, he got out of the board of directors, the sexual allegations he's going through. But people who are wrestling owners or sponsors or people who are spending the big money into the wrestling, they gotta fucking tell these media and all these television rights to back the fuck up. They have to tell them, look, wrestling's bringing in billions of dollars. We sell a lot of merchandise. We don't need to attract children and family entertainment. We need to attract the mature audience. This way the whole world can start watching. And the sponsors and all these TV rights deals, that's what they should realize too. They need to wake up and smell the coffee too while they're at it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I said, if the crap continues that way, if shit continues that way, we're never going to have good wrestling. That's the thing. Right now, which promotion do you watch? Do you watch WWE or do you watch AEW or none of the above?
Not that much. Here and there, I'm not enjoying it. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, I don't blame you because, you know, when AEW first came out with Tony Khan and this and that, you know, I had huge hopes for that company, believe it or not. Tony Khan already has been running this wrestling show for 5 years. I got really disappointed. You know, the man, he spent billions of dollars, and I get it, is a huge wrestling fan, and he loves wrestling, and he spent billions of dollars into this with his father's inheritance. However, the problem is, his number one problem was he never went Monday nights head-to-head with Vince McMahon on Monday nights. He started going on Wednesday nights with WWE's C show, which was called NXT. If you're going to spend billions of dollars and you're going to spend on big contracts, and you know, why don't you just go head-to-head live on Mondays? That's what doesn't make sense. On top of all this shit, all his storylines did not make sense with Tony Khan. Sure, there is a lot of great talent in AEW. A lot of them are busting their asses off. But he's got stupid people as vice president and chairman and this and that. Guys like Kenny Omega, he was a former IWGP Japan wrestler, or the Young Bucks, who don't know shit about wrestling. All they do is like high-flying stunts and stupid crap like that. He's got guys like Sting, he's got Arn Anderson, or old school, he's got Jeff Jarrett over there, he's got guys from TNA Originals, Samoa Joe, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, he's got big-time names in AEW, all right, and he's got guys like Christian Cage and Edge, Adam Copeland. He's got big-time names. He needed to use one of these old-school veterans as their booker. You know what a booker is, right? A booker is somebody who makes up the matches and he decides the storylines, or he tells the guys what they have to do in and out of the ring and how they got to keep things mysterious, and during storylines, what they got to say, what not to say. You need an old-school booker for that. See, back in the 70s, the 80s, there was Bill Watts. There was guys in the 90s, WWF had Jim Ross.
Yeah, back then everything was better.
Yeah, because
right now,
yeah,
I'm enjoying a small community wrestlers, like amateurs.
Yeah.
More than professional ones.
Oh, of course, so do I. Just like I've seen the one I went. It was in Etobicoke. I think it was CWA or CWF, something like that. Yeah, the small promotions are so much better.
Right now, this month, March 22nd,
yeah,
HPW in Hamilton,
yeah,
they got huge growth.
Oh.
I'm really angry every time I go there.
Yeah, and what's the wrestling organization? What's the name of that?
HPW.
HPW.
Yeah.
HPW. Do you know what that stands for?
The School of Wrestling.
Yeah.
They all graduate from school and they doing the shows.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. Every time I go over there, it's amazing. This month, March 22nd, it's Friday.
Oh, nice, nice.
7 or 6 o'clock.
Oh yeah, you know what? I like to go there too. I like to make some interviews with some of the wrestlers over there. Why not then get them to have a voice too? You know, because I'm
sure if you're gonna go over there, you're gonna love it.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I saw this one in Welland. I saw this one in St. Catharines, also in Etobicoke too. Like those small promotions, those indie wrestling shows, they're doing way better than the professionals are. I hate to say it.
That's my point exactly.
Yeah, and the reason why they're doing better, it's because they don't let the press, they don't let news reporters or people who are on the internet, like a bunch of stupid marks or a bunch of jerk-offs, go over there and and let them find out their secrets or what they're going to do in the next show, this and that. And that is why things are kept mysterious. See, the more mystery there is in wrestling, people don't know what to expect. That's why people go over there, they buy the ticket, they buy the beer, they buy the popcorn, and they don't know what to expect. And all of a sudden it gets full of surprise and anticipation. Anticipation is the key. And then all of a sudden controversy happens. That's where wrestling gets more interesting. Today there is no anticipation or controversy or, like anything mysterious going on in wrestling. Everybody knows what the hell they're going to do. That's the thing. See, when Eric Bischoff started with, when he hired Scott Hall and Kevin Nash back in 1996, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, he did not announce it to the press. He did not announce it to the news reporters or anybody like that. Nobody knew that Scott Hall and Kevin Nash joined WCW. They knew they quit WWF, Vince McMahon's promotion. And when they jumped ship to WCW, it all started with Scott Hall jumping in there, jumping a couple of wrestlers, and then grabbing the microphone and saying, "You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here." That was his catch line. People started to puzzle and wonder, what the hell's this guy doing? Or that guy's from WWF. Whoa, wait a minute, that's Razor Ramon. They didn't even know his real name was Scott Hall yet. They knew him as Razor Ramon. See, this is where the mysteriousness clicks in. A week later, he jumps again, and then Eric Bischoff, while he interviews him, he goes, "Who are we? Who are you guys? This and that." And he goes, "Listen." And then all of a sudden, Diesel comes out, the other guy that quit, his best friend, and he was Kevin Nash. And what Kevin Nash said, "This is where the big boys play. We're not here to play." And then they challenged them, "You're 3 men versus our 3 men. You select 3 WCW guys, and we'll bring our 3rd mystery man." And nobody knew who the mystery man was until the pay-per-view happened at Bash at the Beach. And then they came along with the 2 guys, and then the 3rd guy came in. And at that time, Hulk Hogan was a babyface. He was a good wrestler, a nice guy, right? Everybody in the stands thought he was going to come and save the WCW guys, and he was going to beat the crap out of the Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. All of a sudden, what he did was he turned on his own best friend, Macho Man Sting, and then he told everybody, "You're all a bunch of piece of garbage. This is what I think of you, like a bunch of trash, this, that." And that's where he formed the New World Order, and the rest is history after that. That's where anticipation and controversy came to play. Today, there's none of that going on. And that's why wrestling's crap today. And a wrestling fan who's been a wrestling fan like myself for over years and years, that is why I don't like this show anymore, because I think it's stupid and it's fake today. But back then, they made it look real. They acted out as it was real. That's what got everybody anticipated towards that, if you know what I mean. Does that make a little bit of sense of what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Other than that, besides that one, it was Mike Tyson's signing when Vince McMahon signed him, and he was going to be a special guest referee in, it was March of 1998. A couple weeks before the WrestleMania show, Mike Tyson came out, and then Stone Cold Steve Austin came out, and he flipped the middle fingers on him, and then they started beating each other up in the ring. It did a big box office attraction. That day, WWF Raw made millions of dollars, and they got thousands of ratings right. They just tuned into the show right away, That's what happens. Today, nobody cares for it. Nobody gives a crap for it, because every week and almost every day, it's the same thing they do. Match after match, it's the same fucking thing every time. That's why nothing's interesting anymore. Let me ask you another question. What do you think of Vince McMahon's allegations while he's going through in the WWF? Or WWE, that's what it's called right now.
They changed the name, but thing is not going to better. I don't know. gonna do something different or that or same thing? Like what's gonna happen?
Well, if you watch russosbrand.com, Vince Russo, he was a former WWF writer. He used to make the matches and he used to write the stories for WWF in the mid-90s and the late 90s. He's the one that created the character for Stone Cold Steve Austin. He created Val Venus' character. He changed The Rock's persona. You know, he spiced some things up during storylines and segments. Vince Russo, see, Jim Cornette I listen to too. Jim Cornette hates Vince Russo and Vince Russo doesn't like him back. Even Eric Bischoff doesn't like Vince Russo. Everybody blames Vince Russo for destroying wrestling or whatever. But the thing with what Vince Russo is saying, the other day I watched his episode, he said that WWE is not going to bring back the good old school wrestling show because they already sold out to the networks. They sold out to the networks. They're never going to bring it back. They don't care to bring it back. So many attempts they had, even Jean-Paul Levesque, Triple H, his son-in-law, Vince McMahon's. And Vince McMahon, so many times over the years, they said, oh, we're going to bring back the old school wrestling. We're going to bring it back and make it professional again. They never did because it's all lies. Because 1 minute, if they use one F word or one S word or this and that, the network's going to close them down. They're going to shut them down right away. They're going to knock them off the air. So they decide to sell out to the media and make it a kids show so they can make millions of dollars. See, wrestling today, they're not depending on the wrestling fans anymore. They're not depending on mine and your ticket sales. They're not depending on merchandise or people watching or ratings anymore. What they're depending on is the networks giving them a deal. Let's say Netflix or Fox TV or TSN or whatever. They give them a 5-year deal or a 10-year deal, and then they give them upfront $5 or $10 billion, and they are guaranteed to have a 5-year deal. And every week they put it the same stupid episodes every week, the same stupid shows, which none of it makes sense anyways. Nobody needs to watch anyways, but they already make $5 billion up front and nobody's watching at the same time. Only you got all these jerk-offs on the internet, all these internet marks, writing comments, this and that. That's the same thing Tony Khan is doing, listening to these stupid marks. Tony Khan had one thing going on. See, he had MJF. You know MJF, right? Maxwell Jacob Friedman for AEW Wrestling, right?
Yeah.
MJF, for a 24-year-old, you know, I admired him a lot. He was very young. He was still green, but you know what? He embraced this character really good. He became this good, cocky heel, this evil character right there. I like to call him, see, Ric Flair, he told him he is like a young Randy Orton. But I like to say he is actually the modern day Nature Boy Ric Flair, if you ask me, MJF. He's very similar to Ric Flair, actually, the way he wrestles. See, when MJF, he first won that world title, AEW had a good thing going on because the rest of the show was pretty shit. But when they had MJF holding the belt, the AEW world title, and MJF even said, I'm going to hold a longer reign. I'm not only going to be the longest reigning world heavyweight champion, I'm going to hold the longer reign than Bruno Sammartino himself. And Bruno Sammartino held the WWF title for 8 years. Okay, a little more than 8 years. This is what MJF plan was. And what they should have done in AEW, because all they had left was MJF. They fired CM Punk. That was a stupid mistake they did by firing CM Punk. CM Punk ended up going to WWE. He drew way more money, even though it's a children-friendly show or whatever, because CM Punk is worth a lot of money, you know, and he's been a veteran for the last 20 some odd years, and he's 45 years old. They treated him like shit at AEW. And all these stupid young guys like MJF, Marco Stunt, this and that. Marco Stunt, that stupid idiot. There was a pre-show going on at a pay-per-view. Everybody in the back told him not to do that glass stunt, break somebody through a glass. He broke somebody through a glass, and that stupid idiot, what was his name? Jungle Boy or Marco Stunt, whatever his name is. He started going, oh, this is real glass, isn't it? They ended up telling CM Punk he wasn't supposed to do that. CM Punk confronted him and told him, listen, you dumbass, you're not supposed to do that. And then Jungle Boy ended up talking back to him, and then he put him on a headlock. He beat the crap out of him. And then Tony Khan decided to fire him. He got all afraid and didn't know what to do. He decided to fire CM Punk. What happened a few months later? WWE ended up buying out CM Punk's contract. They gave him a role. The guy drew a few $1 million. The guy was worth money, for God's sakes. This is the problem with Tony Khan. He's got the right guys like CM Punk. All of a sudden, he gets rid of guys like him. And all of a sudden, he had MJF, and MJF was holding the title for more than a year. He did become the longest reigning AEW World Heavyweight Champion in AEW. However, just like MJF said, he wants to be a longer reigning world champion than... Sorry, the phone got disconnected a bit. So we had a little bit of technical difficulties right there. Anyways, as I was saying, when MJF was the longest reigning world heavyweight champion, they should have never got the belt off him. I know he was injured and they had to put the belt to somebody else. What they could have done was, instead of taking the belt off him, he could have went for his, his operation, and he could have, they could have had Samoa Joe as an interim world champion, or they could have had a tournament going on to crown a new interim world champion. So he could have been in the sidelines, MJF, and still could have been the actual reigning world heavyweight champion, and they could have had an interim world champion instead. Because MJF, he should have been a lot longer reign, he should have kept going. And MJF could have held it for another 5 years or maybe 10 years, and he could have really broken Bruno Sammartino's record, and I think he could have bring that AEW World Heavyweight title into prestige, if you ask me, just like Bruno Sammartino did back in the early 70s. Anyways, what do you guys all think of what I'm saying? And write your comments down below and tell me what you really think of all this. And besides that, the same thing they did with MJF, I think back in 1999 at Starrcade, 1999, where they ruined Goldberg's undefeated streak. See, this is what I think. I think I'm going to be talking about next week in my next podcast. When Goldberg was undefeated in WCW. Oh, we got another phone call right there. Yes, hello? Yeah, sorry, the phone got disconnected. I thought I lost you. Yeah. Anyways, for MJF, as I was mentioning, right live on camera, MJF's winning streak, they should have kept the belt on him. Even though MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, was injured, he tore something in his body. What they should have done was they could have had an interim world champion. That's what Tony Khan did create. See, Tony Khan did create some good things as interim world champion. As in, if the world champion is injured, they crown a new world champion, a different world champion, but he's a temporary world champion until the actual world champion comes back from injury. See, that's what they should have done instead of rather than him losing to Samoa Joe. And And if MJF would have held the title maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, I think they could have made AEW's world title a lot more prestigious, you know? Because Bruno Sammartino back in the early 70s, when he held the belt for 8 or 9 years, he did create prestige in the WWF at that time. Also in 1984, when Vince McMahon got Hulk Hogan to hold the World Heavyweight title, and he went with Hulk Hogan all the way, from 1984 to all the way to 1988, Hulk Hogan held the title, actually not 1988, 1989 Hulk Hogan held it till, for 5 years he held it, so that created another prestige, and it was a big time moneymaker too. See, this is the problem with AEW today. With Vince McMahon also, he's got the sexual allegations and is going through the courts and all that stuff right now. AEW is not going to get better because they are being mismanaged, I think. They got all the talent in the world, they got all the technology in the world, and they got all the billions of dollars getting spent in AEW, but they are being mismanaged. They need a proper booker, I think. That's what they're missing. But in Vince McMahon's case, right now with the sexual allegations, this and that, and right now TKO Endeavor took over WWE, and they took over all of Vince McMahon's shares, this and that. And also anybody who was accomplices with Vince McMahon, or they knew about those sexual allegations that he went through with John Laurinaitis and Brock Lesnar and so on and so forth, all these guys are about to get fired too. I don't think TKO Endeavor could do anything better anymore. Not only because it's a stupid child-friendly entertainment show, but on top of that, with Vince McMahon with all his allegations, this and that. See, wrestling will always continue. There will always be wrestling, I think. But it might never be good wrestling anymore. So they gotta turn the tides around, and they gotta bring back that old school feeling again. Because back then, wrestling used to be a sports presentation. Today, it's a family-friendly entertainment. It's a stupid soap opera right now. The way they used to present it itself, they had ring announcers, they had timekeepers, they had bell ringers. They also had guys who were at the announce booth who would talk and make it look serious. They all dressed up to play the parts with nice suit and tuxedo, this and that. Wrestlers, good wrestlers like face wrestlers and heel wrestlers, they were never supposed to meet at the bar. Heels would never give out signatures to fans because they're bad guys, right? Why would you want their autograph, right? That's what screwed up wrestling too. Let's say back then, if Hulk Hogan was a babyface and Macho Man was a bad guy, a heel, right? They could never go to the bar together and have drinks together. Also back then, old AWA promoters, NWA promoters, all other territory wrestling days, when there was promoters, always the wrestling promoters told them, if you ever get into a fight at a bar, or you go to a corner store and somebody sticks a gun at you or challenges to fight you, make sure you kick the living crap out of that guy, just to prove that us wrestlers were not a bunch of pussies. That was the mentality back in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. Today, a lot of the wrestlers are a bunch of pussies. A lot of them go to a bar, they get into a bar fight, they get their asses kicked too a lot of times. See, this is where back then the wrestling business was always protected. The only thing you saw in wrestling is when you watched it on television or watched it at the stands. Wrestlers never got to be friends with anybody else outside of the ring. They had to be isolated at all times. They could have never gave out information to anybody outside of the ring. So everything had to be confidential. See, and the thing is, they got to bring back the territory days too, I think. A matter of fact, whatever the hell Vince McMahon is going through, I'm so fucking glad that stupid son of a bitch is going through that. Because back in the 80s, he also went through other allegations where there was male wrestlers coming on to other male wrestlers. Also, they had a 13-year-old boy who was one of the ring boys. One of the wrestlers and one of the ring guys, they ended up sexually molesting that 13-year-old boy. Back in the 80s, the 90s, WWF went through those allegations and they fought over it and they couldn't prove it, right? In the 90s, then they had a steroid scandal and drug scandal and this and that. And now Vince McMahon not only stepped down as CEO of the company. The only reason he stepped down because there's not just from Chanel Grant, he has sexual allegations. He's got sexual allegations with multiple women that were former personnels in the WWE, either secretaries or employees or whatever. And he always did a hush money scandal. He paid this one woman $1 million, another woman $1 million, and now everybody's coming out and saying the sexual scandals on him. And also there was this one female wrestler who was dating Paul London. They went to Iraq, back in the war in Iraq or whatever that was going on. The military's doctor, he ended up drugging her, and then after he drugged her, he also sexually assaulted her while she was asleep too. And the WWE employees, and not the employees, the WWE higher-ups, including Vince McMahon, they all kept a blind eye shut towards this thing. So I think karma is really coming back at him. Not only karma is coming back at him for all the bad things Vince McMahon did to people, but also over the years, what he's been doing is, he put a lot of promotions out of business, and he ended up buying out a lot of promotions. He even put WCW out of business too. So I think Vince McMahon has to be stopped. Once Vince McMahon is out of the picture, I think we can bring back old school wrestling again, and we get rid of this child-friendly entertainment. And I think Tony Khan needs to smarten up too, and he needs to spend his money wisely more. Because guys in AEW, they're just milking him with a lot of money right now. A lot of people who don't know wrestling, instead of criticizing Tony Khan, look, buddy, you're doing these things wrong. Tony Khan is doing things that he enjoys out of wrestling, or he thinks it's good, but it's not really good. And nobody wants to really listen to the guy, if you know what I mean. That's about it, And if the wrestling show is going to be better, AEW, since he spent billions of dollars, Tony Khan, he needs to spend, and he keeps on spending billions of dollars. I think what he needs to do, he needs to go Monday nights, and he needs to go head-to-head with Monday Night Raw. That's what I think, in my opinion. See, I had high hopes for AEW. Believe it or not, I was disappointed. As soon as I started watching it and I kept tuning into it week after week, it wasn't my thing. It wasn't a lot of people's thing as people were watching. And so I don't know. You guys tell me down in the comments below, what do you all think about all this that I'm saying? Anywho. Anyway, so next week I will be talking about the finger poke of doom in WCW, and also I'll be talking about Goldberg's undefeated streak. Like how Goldberg lost his undefeated streak and he lost the WCW World Title. Anyways, I have a good thing that I want to talk about, where if they didn't kill Goldberg's undefeated streak, and he would have stayed undefeated, and also if they didn't do the finger poke of doom, what they should have done and what they could have done, and I think a few years later, WCW would have survived and we would have still had this good old school Monday Night Wars era a few more years later. I don't think wrestling would have been, because once, before the finger poke of doom, once they killed Goldberg's undefeated streak, that was when it was the beginning of the ship hitting the Titanic, I think. The ship hitting the Titanic, and that's where the ship started to sink, I believe. Once they, killed Goldberg's undefeated streak. And for the record, I did do some of my research. Goldberg's actual undefeated streak in WCW, and I'll tell you right now. See, WCW and WWE today, they all said Goldberg's undefeated streak was 174-0. It was Goldberg's actual undefeated streak with all his matches. It was actually 158-0. And I got this resource out of, if you guys watch Reliving the War, the Monday Night Wars, on the Wrestling Bios channel in YouTube, Wrestling Bios. That's where I took a screenshot over here with Goldberg's undefeated streak. Wrestling Bios mentioned that Goldberg's actual streak was 158-0, but WCW and Wrestling Today, they counted as 174-0. So yeah, next week I'll be talking about Goldberg's undefeated streak, and I think that was the beginning of the ship sinking the Titanic. That's where it all started, I believe. And I think if they didn't kill Goldberg's undefeated streak, they could have manipulated the storylines a lot more. They could have had way better storylines, and wrestling would have been so much better than it is today, I think. Anyways, let's finish it up. It's a wrap, I think. We'll sing a few more songs. And thank you all for joining my live podcast. Okay, I'll be singing one more song, one or two more songs for tonight. Check.
varum, nici pe sasmă el cum. Havatume samata, ce salatul de găna, mai ce uzum morgănas, uzule milset mănas. Havatume samata, ce salatul de găna, mai ce uzum morgănas, uzule milset mănas. Havatume samata, ce salatul de găna, mai ce uzum morgănas. Havatume samata, ce salatul de găna, mai ce uzum morgănas, uzule milset mănas. Havatume samata, ce salatul de găna, mai ce uzum morgănas, uzule milset mănas.
Thank you, thank you. our closing moment right now.
Սեր մաշխարում ամերջ արցունքներ աչքերիս տիրում աղքի շերներ այս է յանքը միտե սիրելը այս է տանջանքը տանջվել են կանիար տխնել են կանիար երած են կանիար սիրո խոսքերի տանջվել են կանիար տխնել են կանիար երած են կանիար սիրո խոսքերի Անիվը պաղտիս, կանել է գարտես, այլունը սրտիս, կաներարիտ ես, գալիս է մտքիս, անունը գարտես, այլը իմ սրտիս, դուրերարիտ ես, անիվը պաղտիս, կանել է գարտես, այլունը սրտիս, կաներարիտ ես, գալիս է մտքիս, անունը գարտես, այլը իմ սրտիս, Հարկևել է պաղտը կեզ ինձ ու կապուդաճա աչկերը կոջինչ աղ չկինեմ հիշում ես ինձ թե մնացել են ուշերում կոջինչ տանջվել են կանիար տխնել են կանիար երած են կանիար սիրո խոսքերի տանջվել են կանիար տխնել են կանիար երած են կանիար սիրո խոսքերին Անիվը պաղտիս, կանել է գարտես, այլունը սրտիս, կաներարիտ ես, գալիս է մտքիս, անունը գարտես, այլը իմ սրտիս, դուրերարիտ ես, անիվը պաղտիս, կանել է գարտես, այլունը սրտիս, կաներարիտ ես, գալիս է մտքիս, անունը գարտես, այլը իմ սրտիս, դուրերարիտ ես, Անիվը պաղտիս, կանել է գարտես, այլունը սրտիս, կաներարիտ ես, գալիս է մտքիս, անունը գարտես, այլը իմ սրտիս, դուրերարիտ ես, անիվը պաղտիս, կանել է գարտես, այլունը սրտիս, կաներարիտ ես
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So tune in for next Monday of my special podcast for Sarkis Serge Melengitchian III. Thank you all for coming, and thank you all for enjoying this spectacular moment with us. Next week, we'll be talking about the finger poking tune in WCW and Goldberg's on the Field Street. Stay tuned next Monday and every Monday. Ciao, everybody. Love you all.